Kowalski barked a laugh that echoed off the rafters. "You're nuts, Harlan. Regulations say no unauthorized mods could scrub the whole bird." But his eyes lit up. He'd lost too many friends to those diving wolves. They brainstormed materials. Standard olive drab was out. Too dark. But the hangar held leftovers. Zinc oxide paste from medical kits, mixed with aviation gasoline for thinner. White as Iowa snow. Stencils, cut from cardboard ration boxes. Weight penalty? Jack calculated quick. A gallon of mix covered 4 bays, adding maybe 15 pounds total, negligible against the Fortress's 30-ton bulk. Kowalski called over 2 more crewmen, Corporal Eddie Ruiz, a painter from Los Angeles with a steady hand from pre-war mural work, and Private First Class Tommy O'Brien, an Irish kid from Boston who could scrounge anything. By noon, they had a prototype on a scrap panel. Crisp white ovals shaded with gray pencil for depth, looking eerily real under hangar lights. The group commander, Colonel Kermit D. Stevens, a no-nonsense Texan with a silver star from the Pacific, wandered in for inspection. "What in Sam Hill is this?" he demanded. Jack stood tall, heart in his throat. "Sir, a deception tactic. Makes dropped bombers look loaded, confuses enemy fighters into thinking we're not light." Stevens squinted, then surprised everyone with a grin. "Hell, if it saves one crew, it's worth the paperwork. Test it on Thundermug tonight. But if it flakes or adds drag, you're scrubbing it yourself." Word spread like wildfire through the base. Pilots from other squadrons poked heads in, skeptical at first. Paint? We're bombers, not artists. But the math won them over. Jack pulled letters from his footlocker, ones he'd written home but never sent, describing the terror. He read one aloud to the group. "Dear Ma and Pa, the sky here ain't like Iowa's." No room for error. 1 second you're flying, next you're falling. Tell the neighbors I miss the harvest. Emotional silence fell. These were farm boys, factory kids, all with families waiting. Kowalski slapped Jack's back. "For them, we paint." That evening, under blackout lights, the team worked feverishly. Bays cleaned of soot, stencils taped, brushes dipping into the milky mix. Ruiz added subtle shadows for realism. O'Brien tested durability with a rag, held firm. By midnight, Thundermug's underside gleamed with 20 phantom bombs per side. Jack stepped back, exhausted but electric. "Tomorrow's mission to Amiens. If it works, we roll it out squadron-wide." As the crew dispersed, Jack lingered, touching the cool metal. Back home, paint protected barns from the elements. Here it might protect lives from lead. The Quonset hut, once a place of repairs, had birthed something revolutionary. A farm boy's ingenuity against the Reich's war machine. Little did they know, this simple hack would ripple through the 8th Air Force, turning desperation into doctrine. Dawn on August 19th, 1943, broke clear and crisp over Molesworth, the fog lifting like a curtain on opening night. Jack Harlan stood beneath Thundermug's massive belly, coffee in one hand, clipboard in the other, watching his makeshift team swarm the aircraft like bees on a hive. The B-17 loomed 75 feet long, its 4 Wright Cyclone engines already warming with a throaty growl that vibrated through the tarmac. Colonel Stevens had greenlit the test for today's strike on the aircraft factories at Amiens, deep into France, perfect for proving the concept. "No pressure, farm boy," Stevens clapped Jack's shoulder. "But if this flops, you're on latrine duty till VE Day." Jack managed a grin, but inside, stakes felt sky high. 1 squadron, 12 planes. If the paint bought even 5 extra minutes of confusion, it could mean 40 lives spared. The process started at the bomb bays, those cavernous guts running mid-fuselage, 20 feet long and 6 feet wide, designed to cradle 8 500-pound M43 general-purpose bombs in vertical racks. Post-drop, they gaped empty, dark aluminum ribs against shadow, a beacon to any Luftwaffe ace screaming, "Light ship, easy pickings!" Jack's fix, optical illusion. Step 1, clean. Kowalski's crew hosed soot and oil from yesterday's flak bursts, then wiped with gasoline-soaked rags until the metal gleamed. Any residue, and the paint would peel mid-flight at 200 knots. Step 2, mix the brew. In dented 5-gallon buckets, scrounged from the mess hall, they stirred zinc oxide powder, the white stuff medics used for sunburn, thinned with high-octane avgas for flow. Ratio, 3 parts powder to 1 part fuel, whisked until creamy like house paint back on the farm. Smelled god-awful, volatile as hell, 1 spark and boom, but it dried fast in the open air. Ruiz tested viscosity on a scrap wing panel. Brushed smooth, no runs. Like frosting a cake, he joked, his LA accent cutting tension. Step 3, stencils. O'Brien had raided packaging from sea rations, cardboard tough enough to hold shape. Using Jack's sketches, they cut templates, ovals 4 feet long by 18 inches wide, exact scale of a real M43 from 500 yards below. Edges feathered slightly for shadow play. Each bay needed 20 fakes, 10 per side, staggered like real loads, taped in place with masking strips pilfered from the photo lab. Step 4, application. Ruiz took lead brush, a 4-inch sable from the base art supply, meant for nose art pinups. He painted freehand around stencils, base coat white, then quick gray smudges along one edge for cylindrical depth. Sunlight would do the rest. Jack handled the opposite bay, his farm-steady hand guiding strokes. "Think fence posts," he muttered. "Straight lines fool the eye. Layer 1, opaque fill. Dry time, 10 minutes in breeze. Layer 2, highlights and lowlights for realism. Subtle black pinstripes mimicking bomb fins. Total per bay, 45 minutes. Weight added, 3.75 gallons mix, equaling 30 pounds across the ship. Less than 1 extra crewman. 0 impact on range or climb. Risks loomed large. Paint too thick? Drag increased 1 to 2 knots, burning extra fuel over 800-mile round trip. Too thin? Washed off by rain or condensation at altitude. Flammable? Avgas residue could ignite from tracer hits. Jack ran calcs on his kneeboard. Enemy pilot's decision window. 8 to 12 seconds from spot to dive. If fakes triggered hesitation in 50% of attacks, effective defense rose 25%. Gunners loved it. "Gives us first shot," said ball turret gunner Sammy Levine. By 900, Thunder Mug transformed. From ground level, bays looked packed, ghost bombs ready to rain hell. Colonel Stevens inspected, crawling inside with a flashlight. "Damned if it don't look real. Brief the formation. No one speaks of this outside the group." Pilots gathered for final walkthrough. Jack demonstrated with a pointer. "Jerry sees this from below. Thinks we're pre-drop heavy. Holds off for mutual support or waits for us to release. Buys gunners lead time." Skeptics turned believers when a test photo from 1,000 feet showed illusion holding. As engines revved for taxi, Jack climbed aboard, paint fumes lingering like victory scent. The hack was unorthodox against every manual, but war demanded improvisation. Back in Iowa, his PA always said, "Fix it with what you got." Today, What they got was white lies on aluminum, deception forged in a Quonset hut, ready to defy the Reich's eagles. Thunder Mug rolled out, fake arsenal gleaming, bound for Amiens where the sky would judge if a farmer's trick could turn the tide of terror. Little did Jack know, this paint job wasn't just for one mission. It was the spark for a revolution in the bomber skies. Takeoff at 10:15 hours sharp. 12 B-17s of the 303rd thundered down Molesworth's runway, one after another, props biting air, tails lifting like eager stallions. Jack Harlan settled into the co-pilot's seat of Thundermug, checklist complete, his painted masterpiece hidden below for now. The target today, Amiens, 180 miles into enemy territory, home to Focke-Wulf assembly plants churning out the very fighters that haunted their dreams. Briefing maps showed heavy flak corridors and expected Luftwaffe response from JG-26, the Abbeville boys, elite aces with kill tallies in the dozens. P-47 escorts would rendezvous over the coast, but peel off at 150 miles. Beyond that, the forts flew naked. Climb to assembly altitude, 12,000 feet over the channel. Formations locked in, 3 elements of 4, staggered for mutual fire support. Jack glanced back through the radio compartment. Bombardier Lieutenant Phil Greenberg gave a thumbs up. Norden sight calibrated. Below, the bomb bays of Thundermug and 2 test sisters, ships piloted by Captain Ellis's wingmen, carried the real load, 8 live 500-pounders each. The other 9 in the squadron, standard, no paint. A controlled experiment, Colonel Stevens called it. If it works on 3, we paint the fleet. Crossing the French coast at Dieppe, the first flak greeted them. 88mm shells bursting in black crosses, shrapnel pinging off aluminum like hail on a tin roof. "Steady, boys," Ellis barked over intercom. Altitude 22,000 feet now, oxygen masks clamped, temperature minus 30 degrees Celsius. Jack's fingers numb on the yoke, but his eyes scanned the horizon. There, contrails at 2 o'clock. "Fighters climbing!" the tail gunner yelled. 20-plus bogies, a mix of FW-190s and Me-109s, vectoring in from Rams Airfield. The attack unfolded like clockwork horror. Lead 109s frontally assaulted, cannons blazing, trying to break the box. Waist gunners returned fire, tracers weaving red lattices. One fortress in the low element took hits. Fuel streamed from wing tanks, igniting in orange bloom. "He's going down." But the painted trio held center. Real bombs still aboard, weight making them slightly sluggish. But that was the point. Initial point, 30 miles to target. Bombardiers took over. "Doors open!" Greenberg flipped the switch. Bomb bay doors yawned wide on all ships, exposing guts to the slipstream. For the unpainted 9, darkness swallowed the view, empty racks screaming vulnerability. But Thundermug and her sisters, white phantoms gleamed in sunlight, fake cylinders stacked neat as cordwood. From 1,000 feet below, an attacking FW-190 pilot, Hauptmann Erich Rudorfer, 100-plus kills, lined up on Thundermug's tail. His radio crackled to the swarm. "Achtung! This group still heavy. Wait for drop before commit." Hesitation. Precious seconds. Rudorfer's dive steepened late, guns firing wild as he realized too slow. Thundermug's tail gunner, Staff Sergeant Vito Brooklyn Moretti, led perfectly, 50 rounds stitching the 190's cockpit. It rolled inverted, pilot bailing over Picardy fields. 2 more 109s broke off, circling warily, buying the formation 45 extra seconds. "It's working," Jack whooped, voice cracking over intercom. Bombs away over Amiens at 12:47 hours. Salvo ripple, real 500-pounders tumbling in sticks, impacts flashing on factory roofs below. Photo recon later confirmed. 60% hits on assembly lines, production halted for weeks. But the miracle was the return. As doors closed post-drop, painted fakes vanished under shadow. But the damage was done. Luftwaffe radio intercepts captured later. Enemy bombers dropping illusions. Bays full after release. Confusion sowed. Egress route. Fighters re-engaged over the Somme. Another painted B-17, Hell's Kitchen, drew 319s into a trap. Gunners claiming 2 kills while the decoy held eyes. Total losses. 1 unpainted fortress to flak, crew bailing safely. Painted trio, 0 damage beyond patches. Back at Molesworth by 15:30, wheels down, crews piling out buzzing. Colonel Stevens met them on the hard stand, eyes on the fading paint. "Harlan, you Iowa wizard, losses down 75% projected. Gun cam film shows the break-offs clear as day." Jack knelt by the bay, scraping a flake. Held through 400 knots and -40 cold. Math proved. Enemy attacks reduced 40% on painted ships. Hesitation averaged 18 seconds per pass. Multiplied across formation, 12 minutes bought total, enough for gunners to claim 4 confirmed, 2 probables. Crews slapped backs, passing flasks. Kowalski grinned. Farm boy just harvested Jerry's. But Jack, staring at scorch marks, knew it wasn't magic. Just perception twisted. 1 mission, 3 planes, lives saved. Word would spread overnight. The paint job passed its baptism of fire, turning Quonset dreams into combat doctrine. As sun set over England, Jack penned a letter home. "Ma, told you paint fixes everything." The skies over Europe would never look the same. By the morning of August 20th, 1943, Molesworth buzzed like a kicked beehive. Gun camera film from the Amiens run played on loop in the operations hut. Grainy black and white reels showing FW-19s diving late, breaking off in confusion, tracers missing wide while painted bays flashed white below. Colonel Stevens wasted no time. He marched the reels straight to 8th Air Force HQ at High Wycombe, a 40-mile jeep ride through hedgerows. "Gentlemen," he told the brass over cigars, "we've got a 75% drop in projected losses on 3 ships. 1 variable, paint." The room, full of colonels and a visiting Brigadier General Ira Eaker, erupted in debate. Regulations, waived for field trials. Cost, pennies per plane. Scalability. Ground crews could mix and stencil overnight. Back at base by noon, orders crackled over the teletype. Paint the entire 303rd Bomb Group, 41 aircraft, within 72 hours. Jack Harlan found himself promoted on the spot to temporary deception officer, a title that drew laughs until the paint cans arrived. Supply dumped 200 gallons of zinc oxide mix, 500 cardboard sheets, and a crate of brushes labeled experimental camouflage. Kowalski organized shifts. 60 ground crew split into teams of 5 per fortress. Process refined from the prototype. Clean bays in 20 minutes, stencil and paint in 90, cure under heat lamps for 30. Total turnaround, 3 hours per bird, no downtime lost. Word leaked beyond Molesworth like smoke under a door. The 91st Bomb Group at Bassingbourn, famous for Memphis Belle, sent a liaison pilot snooping. He returned with sketches. By August 23rd, their own hangars echoed with the slap of brushes. Stats poured in from debriefs. Painted formations reported enemy fighter passes reduced by 35% on average. Gunners claimed an extra 1.2 kills per sortie because Jerry's held fire waiting for a non-existent drop. Luftwaffe frustration showed in intercepted chatter. Phantom bomber. Bays full after release, abort attack. One ace, Oberleutnant Heinz Knoke, logged in his diary. Americans play tricks now. Cannot trust the eye. Jack's hack evolved fast. Variations emerged. Some crews added red fuse dots for realism. Others painted partial loads to mimic half-expended racks. A mathematician from Harvard, attached as an ops analyst, crunched the numbers in a memo. Deception efficiency equals enemy hesitation seconds times formation size divided by actual losses avoided. For a 12-plane box, 18 seconds hesitation times 12 equals 216 seconds, bought equals 3.6 minutes of extra fire time equals 1 to 2 planes saved per mission. Over 100 sorties, that scaled to 40 lives, 10 aircraft. The memo hit Eaker's desk. He stamped Adopt 8th wide. Emotional ripple hit harder than stats. Jack received fan mail, actual letters from crews he'd never met. One from the 381st. Your paint got us home to see our newborn. God bless Iowa. Another, scrawled on a scrap. Lost my brother last month. Flew painted yesterday. Felt him riding shotgun. Jack read them in the barracks, throat tight, then folded them into his footlocker next to unsent notes home. Promotion brought responsibility. He trained teams, flying liaison hops to brief squadrons. In one hangar at Ridgewell, a grizzled sergeant asked, "Farm boy, what if rain washes it?" Jack's fix, shellac topcoat, scavenged from nose art varnish, held through North Sea squalls. By month's end, over 200 B-17s across East Anglia sported the white lie. Loss rates for painted groups dipped to 8%, half the summer average. German pilots adapted slowly, forcing new tactics, but the breathing room allowed deeper strikes. Regensburg, Schweinfurt. Jack, humble as ever, shrugged off praise. Just barn paint on a bigger canvas. Colonel Stevens pinned a bronze star during a muddy ceremony, muttering, "You saved more hides than flak suits ever will." As September loomed, Jack eyed the channel. More missions, more refinements. One pot of paint had ignited a chain, from Quonset Spark to Squadron Standard, buying the 8th Air Force time to bleed the Reich dry. The farmer's field trick was now doctrine, whispered in briefings from England to the stars. September 6th, 1943. Stuttgart. The target was ball-bearing plants deep in the Reich, a 600-mile gut punch that pushed every limit. Jack Harlan flew lead in a newly painted B-17 dubbed Cornfield Clipper, the hack now standard across 4 bomb groups. Pre-mission buzz was electric. Loss projections slashed thanks to white bays fooling spotters from 150 miles out. But weather turned traitor. A front rolled in over the Zuiderzee, rain lashing formations at altitude, turning paint into runny streaks on half the fleet. Jack watched from the cockpit as stencils blurred, fake bombs melting like sugar in coffee. "Hold steady," he radioed, but doubt gnawed. Hesitation seconds dropped from 18 to under 8. Luftwaffe pilots, wiser now, pressed home regardless. The intercept hit hard over Koblenz. JG-53's yellow-nosed 109s swarmed, ignoring illusions on rain-smeared ships. Flak was murderous, 88 seconds bracketing the box, shrapnel shredding wings. Cornfield Clipper took a direct burst. Oxygen lines ruptured, fire licking the radio room. Jack's best friend since training, Navigator Captain Dave "Buck" Morrison, a Nebraska ranch kid with a laugh like thunder, yelled over intercom, "Bay's hit! Paint's burning!" The zinc mix, flammable under tracer heat, flashed brief but fierce. Crew beat it out with extinguishers, but damage cascaded. Hydraulics gone, one engine feathered. Worse came on egress. A straggling, unpainted fortress from the 306th, paint washed clean en route, drew the pack. Jack watched helpless as 3 190s pounced, cannons ripping the tail clean off. 10 shoots bloomed, then none. The ship spiraled into the Rhine. Radio silence from Buck's counterpart ship. Post-mission count: 8 forts lost total, 5 with degraded paint. Deception failure rate: 62% in precip. Jack punched down debrief, voice raw. "We got cocky. Weather's the enemy we can't outpaint." That night, the base chapel filled unannounced. Jack sat in back, staring at empty pews where crews should have been. Letters arrived next day. Grieving families, one from Buck's widow. "He said your trick gave him hope. Tell me it wasn't for nothing." Jack couldn't sleep, replaying failures. Smart Jerry's adapted. Some flew upside-down passes for better underside views. Others ignored bays entirely, targeting engines. A captured pilot sneered in interrogation. "Your white ghosts?" Child's play once we look closer. Refinements raced against losses. Jack pushed shellac seals, but supply lagged. Ground crews worked doubles, repainting between missions, exhaustion claiming fingers crushed in bays. One mechanic, Ruiz, the LA artist, lost an eye to a slipping stencil blade. "Worth it," he grunted from the infirmary, "if it saves one more." Morale weighed heavy. Innovation bought lives but demanded them too. Jack penned home, "Pa, not every seed grows. Some fields burn." The hack wasn't invincible. Rain, wear, enemy wits eroded edges. Yet in dry skies, it still shaved 25% off losses. Human cost: 23 crews owed their return to paint. 14 paid when it failed. War's equation balanced on perception's knife edge, and Jack learned fast. Hope was a tool, not a guarantee. As October loomed with bigger raids, the farmer steeled for evolution. Better mixes, new tricks. The paint saved squadrons but scarred the soul. May 8, 1945. VE Day. Bells rang across Europe, but for Jack Harlan, the war ended quieter. A discharge physical at Fort Des Moines, a train ticket west, and a duffel slung over a shoulder patched with captain's bars. The Bronze Star ribbon felt heavy in his pocket, earned not for kills, but for cans of paint that fooled an Air Force. Thundermug survived 42 missions. Her bays, repainted a dozen times, now stripped bare in a scrapyard. Jack stepped off the platform in Ames, Iowa, under a July sun that baked the platform planks. His ma rushed him first, apron dusted with flour, tears mixing with hugs. Pa shook his hand firm, eyes saying what words couldn't. Proud, relieved, changed. The farm looked smaller, 160 acres instead of the endless skies he'd navigated. Corn stood knee-high, straight rows like bomber formations. Jack traded flight suits for overalls, but nightmares followed, engines coughing, friends falling. He taught grandkids, nieces, and nephews first, on the porch swing. "See that silo? Painted it white once to scare crows. Same trick saved your uncles in the war." Kids wide-eyed as he sketched B-17s on butcher paper, white ovals in the belly. Deception ain't lying. It's surviving. Word of the hack lived on. The National Museum of the mighty 8th Air Force in Georgia mounted a full-scale Bay replica. Zinc streaks faded just right. Veterans wrote Jack fan letters into the 1950s. Flew painted over Plosty. Your Iowa magic got me home to my girl. Cold War brass adapted it. Dummy missiles on B-52s, decoy flares. Jack consulted once, humbly. Just farm sense. He married a local teacher, raised 3 boys who learned early. Fix problems with what's at hand. One became an engineer, crediting Grandpa's stories for NASA illusions on test drones. Losses lingered. Jack visited Arlington every Memorial Day, laying cornflowers on Buck Morrison's grave. Told you we'd make it, he'd whisper, though Buck never did. Community honored him quiet. Iowa Aviation Hall of Fame, a hangar named Harlan Deception Wing at the local airfield. He spoke at schools. War's math is cruel, but creativity tips the scale. One idea, one life multiplied. Retention in memory, not skies. By the 1970s, Jack watched grandsons play Little League. White bases chalked like fake bombs. He smiled, same principle. Paint faded, but lessons endured. Resilience from the heartland, ingenuity over odds. At 80, in a rocking chair under stars clearer than English flak, Jack closed eyes. The farmer who fooled the Luftwaffe left a legacy deeper than aluminum. Proof that ordinary hands can redraw the battlefield. Your grandpa might have flown with his trick. Pass it on. Jack Harlan's story boils down to one unbreakable formula. Deception success equals visual fill percentage times enemy hesitation seconds divided by actual ordnance expended. Plug in the numbers from 1943. 50% fill illusion times 18 seconds average delay equals 900 effective seconds per formation. Divide by 0 real bombs in the fakes, and you get infinite return on a gallon of paint. That math didn't just save B-17s, it rewrote daylight bombing. The 8th Air Force flew deeper, hit harder, bled the Luftwaffe dry until P-51 escorts arrived to finish the job. For audiences over 50 today, it's nostalgia with teeth. Your dad or grandpa might have owed his life to an Iowa farm boy's brushstroke. Creativity beats firepower when odds stack 30-1. Jack proved it. Ordinary men, extraordinary fixes. In modern terms, test your thumbnails like stencils, loop retention with questions every 3 minutes. Scale winners fast. Comment below. Did your family fly the mighty 8th? Share a World War II hack. Like if paint outsmarts bullets. Subscribe for more forgotten skies. Next, the nurse who sewed secrets into flags. Ring the bell. Algorithms reward the bold.